After an unsuccessful trip to the mountain schools last week, ASU comes home and bounces back with a 76-64 win against Stanford, making it their 20th of the season. I'm Ina Lazarev with Hode Rubino of DevilsDigest.com. Hode, it was such a complete game tonight. The Sun Devils led the entire way. Really a collective team effort.
Yeah, and really after such a disappointing road trip, as you said, both to Colorado and Utah, I think it was anybody's guess what kind of Arizona State team we're going to see tonight. And I think that there definitely was a possibility to see a team that's very pressured down the stretch. You definitely don't want to go into a possible postseason berth with a bad losing streak going on. You're really afraid about the confidence of the Arizona State players, and I think they proved they could be very even keel. I mean, this is a team that up until the road trip to mountain schools won 6 of their 7 games, so they definitely showed they don't go too high or too low after losses, and I guess they showed it again today. I think a lot of folks thought they were really going to go ahead and fold up and be circling the drain, so to speak, but they really, like you said, bounced back against a very good Stanford team. This is not a pushover squad by any means, so impressive win by Arizona State, especially winning in double digits on top of that.
And it was a team effort, no doubt, but the second half really turned into the Jahi Carson show. The point guard recorded his career high at home with 26 points, 23 of them in the second half. He was perfect all night from the field and the line.
Yeah, Jahi Carson's been one of those players that's been a true road warrior. A lot of times, especially in Las Vegas, you can count on Jahi Carson playing very well. Not that he had a lot of bad games in Tempe, but tonight, like you said, definitely his best game in Tempe. Maybe it's one of his best games ever as a Sun Devil. Really took over in the second half. You had a player like Jermaine Marshall who scored 14 points in the first half, but only 2 in the second half. Players like Jordan Bashinsky were off their game tonight. So Jahi Carson really did need to take more responsibility, and he did. I think a lot of good decision making, was perfect from the line, perfect from the field.
Accurate.
Yeah, absolutely, and it does seem that maybe the last 2 games was really hesitant to take the ball to the hoop, and obviously when you're 5'10", you can understand that apprehension. But tonight he made a lot of very impressive layups. This was very, very aggressive, but again had the good decision making. Didn't really go ahead and force the issue. A great game by Jahi Carson, and it definitely carried them in the second half. A half that ASU not only never trailed, but never really had a lead lower than double digits. So very impressive performance by Jahi Carson, a player that really got a lot of criticism the last few games, and I think for good reason. Tonight he really silenced the critics.
He said he wanted to take over, and he really did that tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. He really did, and again, didn't really force a lot. And I think you also have to give Jahi credit for really not only silencing the critics, but really just pushing them aside. Jahi is somebody that's very active on Twitter, so it's almost really hard for him not to notice all the criticism he was getting the last few games. And I think he did a really good job of just putting that aside, knowing what he can do on a regular basis, really proving that the last 3-4 games really in operation and not a true reflection of the player that he had. I mean, in all honesty, his sophomore year is not as impressive as a freshman year. He'll probably be the first one to admit that. However, tonight he played very, very well, and was definitely the Jahi Carson that Sun Devil fans are accustomed to seeing.
The biggest story tonight may have come after the game when Jahi was asked in the press conference whether he was excited for senior night and whether that was going to be his last game in a Sun Devil jersey as well. And he kind of danced around it. Did he allude to possibly maybe coming back next year?
He left the door open. He had some remarks saying that, like I said, it was all about the seniors, not thinking about me, and at least I have 2 more years to make that decision. So that was definitely an interesting comment. Now, you've asked me if Jahi Carson needs to come back. I think he does. I think there's still some things he can improve about his game. Like I said, I wouldn't call a sophomore slump what he's going through right now, but again, when you talk about his level of play, his freshman year and sophomore year, there's definitely a noticeable difference. And I think it's really natural that teams, when they see you the second time around, just like a pitcher in baseball, when you see him the second time around, you know what to expect. And now it's up to that pitcher or to that basketball player like Jahi Carson to go and make the adjustments that teams are showing him. So I think he should come back. Whether he comes back or not, that's another story. But for the first time since he announced in the summer that he's not coming back, I think there's a true possibility that he could come back. Well, we'll all be a little smarter in a few weeks, but he definitely left the door open for coming back. Interesting development. I don't think anybody expected that, especially after such a big night like tonight.
Right. And it obviously wasn't all Jahi tonight. Who, in your eyes, also stepped up?
Well, like I said, it was a collective team effort, and you had players like Jordan Bashinsky who really struggled with scoring and rebounding. Jermaine Marshall was great in the first half, didn't do much in the second half, so really needed the role players to go ahead and step up. Bo Barnes, what else can you say about this player? Has been an absolute tear in the last few games. Not putting up maybe huge numbers, so to speak, but his effort, his hustle is really second to none on the team. Tonight, 8 points, 6 rebounds. Jonathan Gilling, a player that seems like everybody loves to criticize. Another solid game, not so much shooting the ball, but 6 assists, led the team in that category, 5 rebounds. Eric Jacobson, another player who struggled a lot in the last few weeks, 6 rebounds, did foul out, did a great job on Dwight Powell, a player that has been a thorn in Arizona State's side ever since he entered the Pac-12. So I think, like you said, a great collective effort. A lot of role players did step up because he really needed more than Jahi Carson to go ahead and beat Stanford by the margin that he did tonight.
With the victory against Stanford tonight, ASU records its 20th win of the regular season. They have 3 games left. One obviously on Saturday against Cal at home, and then 2 on the road against the Oregon schools. As it stands now, where do you see ASU's chances of making it into the NCAA tournament?
In my opinion, Arizona State needs to win one more game, and it could be even the first game in the Pac-12 tournament if it had to come to that. But I think that with 21 wins, this team should be in the tournament. And it's really not rocket science why they should be in the tournament because of that. It all comes down to RPI. In college basketball, you can talk about a lot of different factors that can go in and help you get into the tournament, but there's no bigger factor than RPI and strength of schedule, which obviously go hand in hand. ASU did a great job, unlike previous years, having a tough schedule, playing Marquette, playing UNLV, playing Creighton, although that was really just a game in a tournament, which just by luck they got to meet in the tournament against each other. But all those games really contribute to such a strong RPI that now you're giving yourself that cushion that if you do falter down the stretch, not that you want to, but if you did, that RPI that got built in November and December is paying dividends in March. So Arizona State, again, needs just one more win. It would be nice to go ahead and beat Cal on Saturday, not only to get that win that should give them the NCAA tournament berth, but also to go ahead and finish in the top 4 in the Pac-12. That's something you and I talked about previously, that Arizona State wants to go ahead and not play that Wednesday game in the Pac-12 tournament, because if you're going to make some noise in that venue, it's unlikely you'll do so if you're playing 4 games in a row. But your first game is going to take place on Thursday, and you might even beat a quality team when you do play on that day. That can go ahead and really now improve your seeding in the NCAA tournament, because right now, even though Arizona State's going to be in the NCAA tournament, it's probably going to be the 8-9 seed. As we all know, that's the worst seed to play, because to get to the Sweet 16, you have to play the number 1 team in your region. So Arizona State doesn't want to be in that position. But obviously, you're going to be happy anyway to get in the NCAA tournament. And again, one more win, Arizona State's in. I think they could do it this Saturday against Cal. And again, if they don't, they have that buffer, the 2 games in Oregon next week, and also the first game in the Pac-12 tournament.
ASU's next opportunity to get that W comes on Saturday at 4 p.m. here at Wells Fargo Arena when the Sun Devils face the Cal Bears. I'm Ina Lajrab with Hod Rubino. Keep it at DevilsDigest.com for all of your latest team coverage.